Create that life, legacy designers. Amber Prosia here. Welcome to episode number 23 of the Parenting Biz Podcast, coming to you every Monday. Now let's chat with this week's featured guest, Kerry Nelson. Kerry, are you ready to inspire us on your journey of how you formulate the life you've always wanted for yourself and your family?
I sure am. Let's go.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Kerry. Kerry Nelson is a dynamic speaker, author, and business process genius who inspires you to unlock your business potential and then shows you how to fulfill it. For over 20 years, Kerry has run her own businesses in service and retail industries. Graduating with honors from university, she went on to get married, have 2 children, and then built Australia's largest online vacuum parts store. But Kerry Ann has also experienced some of the most traumatic events imaginable, traversing in the rough terrain of divorce and remarriage and overcoming dark days of depression and anxiety. Kerry arrived home on the 28th of May in 2014 from working in her family business to find her husband had passed away unexpectedly in their home. The very next day, she realized everything boiled down to one question. Does she let her passion die with him, or does she follow it with everything she has? Since then, Kerry has invested everything into her mission. Over the following 18 months, she restructured and then sold that family business to make space for her newfound purpose. These days, Kerry's a business process expert who uses speaking, writing, and events to communicate her defining commitment. She helps entrepreneurs and professionals reclaim their time and reignite their passion for their work by showing them how to develop and refine their daily business processes. Her years in business management, education, events, and team leadership have set her up for wins that seem almost instant in developing business growth systems. Kerry, please take a minute to fill in any gaps from that intro and give us a little glimpse of your own personal life.
Oh gosh, there's so much in there. I'm listening back to it thinking, oh my goodness, this just is so much. I've had such a big life and so much has happened. I guess the turning point of my life did happen 4 years ago now when I unexpectedly lost my husband. And that really brought me to a point, my first question was, how on earth has this happened? But then closely followed by how am I going to live and what am I going to do? But I realised at that time and working through that season, even that day and in those first few days where everything was still a haze, I realised that it wasn't a brand new thing. The situation was brand new, but who I wasn't brand new. And I brought so much of what I'd learned already to that season to help me forward, to find a new pathway forward. So, yeah, everything that I was brought me to that point and allowed me to move forward into what I do now and who I've become now, and it all continues.
Yeah, brilliant. And I can't wait to dive in because honestly, Kerry, you're just such a force to be reckoned with. So thank you so much for being on the show and taking the time out of your busy schedule to be with us today. I'm really honored to have you here.
You're it's my honor. Absolutely. It's a privilege.
Thanks so much, Kerry. As you are aware, our listeners are parents or parents-to-be that realize ownership is key to not only to our parenting or business, but in life in general. And along that parenting journey, we can lose sight of that. However, if we focus on life as a game or an activity or a sport, not only can we learn to let go easier, but we can also gain strength from our mistakes and design our core focus to be one of laughter, joy, and most importantly, having fun. Just like a 5-year-old kid in the sandbox. So this week, our entire interview will be crafted around the sport of long-distance running. Now, in the long run, it doesn't matter how far you run or even how fast you go. What matters is that you go the distance you told yourself you could reach. So therefore, today's run will be all about creating the unstoppable you. So Kerry, as you know, this is just an analogy and we can create and design our lives any way we want, but this was your chosen sport. So let's get ourselves right on out into the outdoors if we're going to go out onto the track. Yeah. And let's actually dive into the elements of long distance running.
Excellent.
All right. So let's start with the very first one, which is patience and consistent. Because in long distance running, it's actually 80% mind and willpower. And additionally, good things come that are slow, right? In due time. So
Indeed.
Now, obviously, this isn't the best element for those who are listening that are impatient. However, this is one skill everyone needs to learn how to master. If it's in business or in parenting, how has patience defined your success?
Oh, goodness me. I don't describe myself as naturally patient either. I can really relate to all of those people who need things done yesterday and want everything right now.
Yep.
So I absolutely can relate to that. So when it comes to patience, I think the sorts of things that get me through my day, to pick up that running analogy, is that you need to take care of the stride. It's what we're doing in the moment by moment that allows us to be patient, because we can't make the next moment come any faster, and we can't make the last moment disappear. We can only be right there in the moment. So perfecting our stride allows us to take that one step that we're in right now and let the distance take care of itself. Everything else will come. So we need to be fully embracing the moment that we're in, and that's how we can define patience, and that's how we can bring that to life.
Yeah, brilliant and well said. Absolutely. It is just focusing on that stride. What consistent or daily activities have helped you overcome your difficult times in business and in parenting?
That's a really good one. There's a lot that I do in the way of my mindset and my self-talk. I've really honed my skills of being able to remind myself that I'm in this for the long game, that, it's not the end until we say that it's the end. And so just keep on going, keep being persistent and celebrating the wins, being able to say, yeah, in my head, I've got this like a crowd of roaring fans like, yeah, Kerry, it's such an awesome job at that. Look how awesome you are. And, and it's not an arrogant thing, but it's being able to pat myself on the back and say, no, I've really done a good job of that. And then in terms of practical daily activities, I keep on coming back to, and it's something that's hard for all of us to do, but particularly as parents, when we've got children to look after and get to, and business owners, we've got clients and staff and, stuff we need to. But if we can give ourselves the first hour of the day, we give ourselves that. So whether that be getting out, going for a walk, doing yoga, meditating. For me, I actually really do enjoy getting out and having a run or doing my workouts to build up my strength to sustain my run. So whatever that looks like for you, giving that first hour of the day to yourself makes such a massive difference to your ability to, keep pursuing the long game and get through not only the day, but to keep pursuing that mission, the big mission of your life. But it also speaks volumes to yourself about your value and your worth. And I think that as mums, as women, we can often define our worth according to what we do for others. And how other people see us or what other people rely on us for. And I think that it's really important for us to remind ourselves, by giving ourselves that first hour of the day, that we are our first audience. We are important simply because we're worthy. We deserve that first hour to do something that makes us feel good, to do something that makes us set up for success. And from that sort of a mindset and that sort of practice, you can have an attitude then that says, well, if I'm worth the first hour of the day and I am my first priority, then I can give more sustainably. I can charge more money. I actually feel more worthy to be able to charge more. And I can really release myself in my true power and give my gifts, in an ongoing way, because you value yourself first. So that's a really big one. I keep coming back around to it because life is so busy and other things come up and, I can't do that today because I've got an appointment, I've got this, I've got that. And and I always, no, it's been too long. Get back to that cycle, Kerry. Keep learning it, keep practicing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's massive because you've touched on so many elements of it there. But even for the fathers that are listening right now too, I know we spoke about females and is the women's identity, especially being a mom, and we just kind of have that cultural appearance that's our only identity when it's not. And you hit it so huge about you have to value yourself first, because even as a dad as well, it's not your job just to go out and make money and contribute and you have to look after the household. You don't have to have all that status quo put on yourself either, but it's actually understanding your own worth. And then it actually radiates out to your children too, because then you can be a better parent. After you're looking after yourself, you can be a better parent and you can be a better business owner. You can be better for your clients. You can just be a better person overall.
I agree.
It's so massive. So that's such a great element, Kerry. Thanks so much for for sharing that. That takes us into the next element, which is doing the right kind of training. Because make sure, obviously for a long distance run, you have to make sure you're preparing your body and your mind for the right activity. So for example, that could have been a marathon, which is completely different than an Ironman. And there are two different types of training that's required. So Kerry, how do you help people to stop wasting time on work that doesn't work? If you don't mind just elaborating on that with us, because I love that statement of yours.
Yeah, absolutely. I think having clearly defined goals is huge. Knowing what's my mission today, what's my mission. I say mission, I really mean project. I have these big words and these big ideals, but what are the priorities for today? What do I need to achieve today? And what are the steps that I need to take to move forward in the bigger picture? Am I building a business to sell? Am I building something where I want to eventually have a team of people? What's the mission? And how am I going to break that down into the day-to-day steps that are going to make that happen? So, you speak about training and preparation. It is having clearly defined goals and then being able to map those out. They say that you lose 40% of your productivity in transitions, simply switching between tasks. So if you can chunk your work down, once you know what the mission is, then you break that down into the individual steps that need to be taken, the jobs for the day, then chunk those together into like tasks. So you're doing all of your admin or your emails in one block. It might be they say that anything longer than 90 minutes worth of work without a break, you're losing your productivity right there. So the longest block you should be setting for yourself is 90 minutes, and then plan a little break in between. But in that 90-minute block, you say, right, I'm doing all of my emails and my invoicing this block, then have a little break, then come back. And if you've got your big picture goal sorted, break it down into those individual tasks and then chunk those together into work blocks. You literally you're not wasting time on work that doesn't work, because you're only doing work that's headed towards that big goal, and you're doing it in such a way as to make it sustainable.
Yeah, massive. Did you, if you don't mind me asking, have you read the book 12-Week Year?
Oh my God, yes, I have, and I absolutely loved it. I only read it, I think it was towards the end of last year, and I thought, this book, this is everything that I believe and everything that I continue to try to refine and live by in my life. Yeah, it's a fabulous book. I highly recommend.
Yeah, definitely. Just when you were talking about the time blocking, that has truly shifted my entire focus. Like, I thought, honestly, I was a focused individual. No, not when after I read that book. And
it's so true.
No, not at all. So it was brilliant. So if those who haven't read it, really, I'll put it in the show notes, but definitely go pick it out. It will change your whole perspective on how time is structured and how you spend it. Absolutely. So exactly like long distance running, Kerry, the more you do it the longer you can go. So that's also in regards to how you help people as well, right? Like how we talked about it, the more we invest in ourselves at first, the more energy we have, but that's also with time and money. So by making more time and money, then there's actually more time for money and time.
Correct.
Right? So can you explain how you help your audience and your clientele to do that and understand that concept?
Yeah, for sure. A lot of people say that their health is their most precious resource, and I really do understand that. And I work hard at maintaining my own personal health, absolutely. But I actually have a little bit of a different spin on this, because I believe that our time is our most precious resource. Like our health, once it's deteriorated, you really start to feel that, and time, once it's gone, it's gone. But see, I honestly believe that the reason that we look after our health is to get more time. And so in that way, I really think it's our time that we're striving for always to live longer, to get the most out of our time, to get the most out of our days, to inject the most joy and positivity and success and reward, whatever that looks like for us. So making more time by using the time that you've got most effectively, you literally will create potentially hours in your day by being more focused and more strategic about what you do, and looking after those, what I call micro moments, those micro moments of times that are literally those quick little transitions that we go in between our tasks, like I said before. They need to be managed, and they need to be reduced down to, nothing if possible, or next to nothing, so that when we're in flow, we're really working. and we're only working on the stuff that is going to get us to our desired goals, that literally does create more time. And when we're working like that, and we're focused on what is our success, and certainly in business, a massive marker of success, not the only one, is money. We need to be profitable. We need to have good, sustainable cash flow with that ongoing revenue and generating multiple income streams if we can. Mm-hmm. And so what we need to be doing then is using our time to generate that money, which can then be reinvested back in and building more money and more money and more money. And so it's that constantly expanding thing where it literally does snowball. And when you read books like the 12-hour, is it called the 12-hour week?
Yeah, the 12-week year.
12-week year, yes. So reading books like that, you realise, oh my goodness, this will actually change my life. Mm-hmm. This will actually create more time. I will be more productive. I will be able to create more product to sell or more package up more services to pass on to my clients. I will literally have more resource right there. So making more time gives you the opportunity to make more money. And it all comes down to managing those micro moments, having good, clean workflow where you're moving between job to job to job nice and smoothly, and you're in flow and you're delegating the stuff that you don't need to do so that you're managing multiple pots on the boil and you're getting stuff done, and having that sort of effect, it literally snowballs.
Yeah, brilliant. And I'm going to shift into the next element because we've touched on stride already, but one main element with running is find your stride, but it's also find your tempo. I think that's a great going into segue of what you just talked about, because we're all on our own journey, and we have to focus on ourselves individually in our own pace, no one else, right? The competition is literally with ourselves. And just like long distance running, we have to always adjust on the fly. One day we could be feeling super strong, while the next we could feel like we have concrete blocks on our feet, right? We can't move. How have you found being adaptable to your life, business, family situations that make you who you are today, and especially utilizing time blocks?
Can you rephrase that? What do you mean?
So let's just say 12-week year, they all focus on time blocks, and you set up a schedule pretty much. Let's just leave it at that, right? And you block off your time like your 90 minutes, and then you have that little micro tasks in between. But let's just say today, disruption happens, right? Which is going, there's always an X factor. Something's going to come up, right, that we can't account for. So ideally, we'd like to have our day planned out and into this particular schedule, but it doesn't happen that way, unfortunately. How do you adjust on the fly? So that does that make sense now?
Yeah, I do. I completely understand what you're saying. I've actually got two answers that seemingly contradict each other, but they kind of both work together. The first is that the ongoing tasks, as much as I possibly can, I actually don't do myself. I've got two amazing assistants, plus my partner who helps out around our venue that we run here. And so for ongoing workflow that is repetitive and that's time consuming, I actually generally I don't do that work myself. So things like managing my emails, managing payments, social media, content creation, posting, those sorts of things, I'm either delegating that work to my assistants, or I'm using software to automate and schedule and have those things happening. So no matter what urgent fire is burning in my day, I know that those things are going to continue to run no matter what. If one of my sisters has got an urgent fire burning in her day, then we've got a team that can pick up where she's left off and cover off those most urgent things. So they've literally got job lists that I've documented down to the mouse click. And so my main thing that I do when it comes down to it in terms of developing tools and workflow systems are operating procedures where flow is created by there never being a question about what needs to be done and how does it get done. There's always a procedure there to support the execution of any of those ongoing routine tasks. So I love doing that. I love setting that up, and I love showing people how to build that out for their businesses so that they can enjoy that freedom. So I know so much of my work in my business is taken care of before I even need to blink or think about it. So that takes care of the bulk of the workload, that ongoing stuff. And then honestly, when stuff comes up, I've got a list of, and it's it's funny, because that sort of workflow, I use Artemis software, and I've got hundreds of pages of manuals that I build out, and then I use other different software platforms to automate and schedule things, blah blah. So it's all very computer centric, right? Very very tech. And then my work that I do in my days, maybe I'm old fashioned, but I've still got my little red notebook, and I write out my lists of things that are important that need to get done, and I'll have them there, and when they're done, I cross them off. So if a fire's burning today, if my daughter ends up in hospital or something, I need to run and do that, I never get too far off track because I know exactly where I was, that I can pick back up where I left off and continue to get those things moving. So yeah, two seemingly opposite things. A, try not to do all of the work yourself. But then B, if you do have to do, of course we have to do some things. No one else can create my programs or deliver my programs at this time. And so it is a case of, make sure that those things are documented and work through that list. So even if you get a little bit off track, you're not completely derailed.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was brilliant. And just for those who aren't, who didn't pick up the software name, it is Artemis, and I'll put in the link in the show notes for you, because that's the same system that I use too. And honestly, I would not have been able to evolve as quickly and make changes and adapt for our situation, becoming unexpectedly pregnant, to then shifting gears in our business on a fly, that literally still have my VA running the business within a week and a half with the transition.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah,
it is such incredible software.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So I'll put in a link in that. So, go ahead.
I do, sorry. Yes, put the link in there. Awesome. I do just want to say too that this software, it's not project management software, and I think that's the difference. There are a lot of people using other sorts of software like Asana or like Trello, but those softwares are designed to manage projects. This software is designed to manage workflow. It's literally designed to manage task by task by task and keep people accountable to their performance. And inside that software, I can put all of those manuals that I was describing with those step-by-step instructions of how to do tasks. They can all be put right in there with links or instructions that I include. So, yeah, it's fabulous. And it really does keep my assistants and my staff completely on track.
Yeah, massive. And the one big element with like how you said, Kerry, about adding in the links, I'll literally now I record videos and I'll put in the video link into Artemis, into a task, and I'll get my VA to actually transcribe it. So
that's what I do too.
Yeah, it's brilliant. This saves you so much time. So it's a huge, huge benefit for any business owner out there. Absolutely. Yeah. So we also, with long distance running, right, we must understand that what we're coming up against. So for example, we might be coming up to a hill, we might have a climb coming up, or we might be going downhill, and we have to maintain our cadence, and speed is really crucial because it can actually impinge our body pretty harsh. What business hacks do you remind people so that they don't focus on the wrong things and get taken off track? Like, I know you have systems and everything in place, but some business owners probably coming to you don't have that all in board. And how can they stay focused and hitting their goals? What are the first, few things that you help them to make sure that they don't get steered off track?
Yeah, absolutely. It's actually a really challenging question because I've been in business for 20 years, and yet this business that I'm working now, as in opening up this venue and rolling out my small business consultancy, that's actually only been in the last 2 or 3 years that I've had setting all of this up. So that shiny new thing is still really attractive to me. And I look around and I know what it feels like to think, oh, I should get to that networking event. Oh, I should be joining that group. Oh, I should be reading that book. I should be speaking to that person, having that cuppa. And it is so easy to end up with your days being full of busyness. But actually, I wrote a blog about this just this week. I published it.
Oh, did you?
Being full of busyness without actually doing business. I'm actually pulling it up, but I cannot believe how perfectly relevant it is right now. So having clearly defined goals, like I've said to you, I know I feel like a broken record, but if you know where you're headed and you break it down into steps, then you know that no matter what happens, even if you're up till midnight that night, and for you as a new mum, and just have your whole life has just been totally reshuffled around, sometimes it means that you're not going to get the sleep that you need for that night. But if your day's blown out and you've got a deadline and you need to be accountable to that yourself, then you've just got to get the job done. You simply do. So looking back at your calendar and saying, rightio, have I set goals, and then I'm scheduling the steps that need to be taken to achieve those goals. So blocking out your time, literally saying, so for me, my Monday morning between 8 and 12:30, no one gets me. I will not have any appointments unless it's absolutely urgent and needs, and can't be shuffled. No one will get me, because that's where I'm doing my pays and my accounting, making sure my filing's up to date and having a good look through my emails after the weekend. So no one gets me at that time. It doesn't matter what event would come up or what cuppa that I need to, think I need to have. That will never, ever happen. And just recently, I've gone as far as to schedule my Wednesdays and my Fridays as the same thing. That for me, they're product development days. So it's then, the decision's been made. It's a no-brainer. I am not available for those days. The end. There's no negotiating. So having those clearly defined goals, and then coming back and having your job list. And Artemis really is great because it spits out your job list just like that, day by day. So I need to get this done, this done, this done. I check it off. I have a nice little performance rating. So managing your work like that, if you know where you're headed and you know where the finish line is, any of those other pathways off, they can't be pursued. And setting boundaries, knowing how to say no. So no, I'm not going to go to another networking event this week or this month. I've been out enough. I need to get back into building my business. Yes, networking and marketing is hugely important, but that's not your business. And I think it's really important to remember that social media is an important tool for our business, but our business is not social media. Networking is an important tool for our business, but our business is not networking. Emails, same thing. Filing, same thing. So we need to make sure we've got blocks that we allocate to those, and then have boundaries that we keep them so ruthlessly that we just say absolutely no. One of my favorite quotes is by a guy called Paul Graham, and he says, "We are defined by what we say no to."
Oh, beautiful. I haven't heard that quote before.
When you think about that, boundaries is really my thing for this year, I look and I just think if we can all learn that my business is going to be defined not only by what I do, but more what I don't do. What am I not doing? Avoiding those distractions and making sure that everything that I am doing is really on point.
Yeah, beautiful. I love it. That's fantastic. Thanks so much, Kerry. Let's go into the next element about joining a group, because most likely there's so many runners groups out there, and they're extremely powerful because you can surround yourself with like-minded people. You learn mindset tricks because, again, it's huge into mindset. You share equipment or natural remedies to help eliminate or heal the pain, and so much more. And this is the same within parenting and in business. How has a support group or a team, which you've already talked about and spoke so highly of, but how have they helped you through your business career?
Oh, I think it's really important to understand the nature of our relationships that we share with each person. There are some people that we're in relationship with them because they teach us something and they're a mentor or a guide. And I've got some people that I can go and I will literally ask them questions about how does this software work, or what do you think? I've got a business coach. How can we move forward? So they're my guide. They're at the head of the pack, and they're in my life. I'm very clear they're in my life for me to learn from them. And then there are other peers, other people that are peers, or they're friends. They're people that I rub shoulders with and I share the journey with. They're the people that I'll have the occasional social cuppa, or I might have a little Skype call or Zoom just to catch up. And they're purely there to be my friends. And the reason it's really important to define those is because they're the ones that you might let your guard down a little bit more, have a cry, vent your frustrations, and you have that safe place. So they're there to support me emotionally and for me to, of course, reciprocate and offer that same support. But what's really important there on that friendship level too is to understand that they're not my clients. And I know when we're young in business and we're all zealous and enthusiastic, sometimes we can be tempted to sell to our friends and be trying to flog off anything to anyone, and it's really understandable. But the problem is that you can burn really valuable friendships if you start selling and pitching to your friends. Now, if you've got a product or service that is genuinely valuable to your friend, absolutely, you should be bringing that out. I'm not saying, work is work and play is play. Not like that at all. But I think we need to be really careful about knowing the nature of our relationships. And with our friends, their first benefit is for you socially and emotionally and psychologically. So you want to make sure you're treasuring that and guarding that. So mentors, and then peers, and then of course you've got followers, and by that I mean people that you're leading them. You are their mentor, you're their trainer, you're the one that they come to when they've got a question, and they're really valuable. They may well end up being your clients, particularly if you're a service provider, but if you're selling products, they may well come to you for advice about whatever industry you're in. So they either are your clients or they could potentially become your clients, but they become your clients because they trust you, because you're giving value, because you're an expert and they know it. They've experienced the value of your support and your advice and your leadership, right there in that tight little circle. So you want to make sure with those people, everyone you want to give value to, but you want to make sure that with those people that you've got your finger on the pulse of what their needs are, and you're doing everything that you can, pulling out all of your natural strength and your best love gift to support them in their need and to help solve those problems. And then finally, you've got raving fans, and they're the people that if you're doing a half-decent job on social media, they'll be following you, and they'll come along to your events if you're running events, or they'll be looking out for your next blog post, and they just love following you simply because they love following you. Yeah. And they may well come through into becoming a client and being more of that follower, but really at that level they're raving fans. So for me, having been able to conceive this sort of social system, and I've never really talked about this before, but it's something that I've actually got documented for myself, and I need to have things clear, it's for document a lot. But clear, it means that I can get what I need from each relationship. I can give what is expected and what is fair and reasonable and good into that relationship, and I'm not blurring the lines of expectation where I'm hurting my friends or where I'm taking too much or giving too much. So understanding the nature of those relationships, to run the race, like coming back to the little metaphor of the running, to run the race, we need to know who's in our pack and how do we relate to them so that we can all move forward together.
Yeah, lovely. And if you don't mind sharing, who would be 3 people that you wouldn't be where you are today without their support?
Oh my goodness. Well, right now my business coach, his name is David Howells, and he is completely redefining the way that I see my worth, the way that I see my business offering, and the way that I strategize. So getting my ideas out of my head is really valuable to have someone around, and David is the first person that springs to mind because he's doing that with me right now. Secondly, Alec, my late husband, we met selling Kirby vacuum cleaners door to door, and so he was my sales trainer and boss first. And what he taught me about business and sales in particular, oh my goodness, it literally transformed who I am. Who I was so different, and back then and to where I am now. And even though he's not with us anymore, I still take all of the lessons that I learned from him and continue to apply them into my next bit, my next chapter, my next race.
That's it.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm finding it really hard. I'm going to cheat here a little bit and say the other people really are my children, but I want to loop Rod in here, my partner now, because all 3 of them, they love me no matter if I've got makeup on or not, no matter if I'm tired and frustrated or happy, and and they're just always there. And so being able to love so freely and have such such unconditional acceptance from them reminds me what my life is all about. And I know my personal life mission is to be a superhero to my kids, that I'll always be there like a beacon for them and shining as best that I can to light a pathway forward for them. So I wouldn't be who I am without sharing that love with the people that are closest to me.
Oh, absolutely. And honestly, that's a great leeway into our last element of today's race, is to be proud of yourself every step of the way. Because literally, like long distance running, it's 1 mile at a time, you know?
Yeah.
And looking back over the years of your life and all of your accomplishments, what do you think, if you don't mind, and of course there's so many, but what are you most proud of?
Oh, goodness me, that is really, really hard. I think what I did with the business after Alec passed away, we shared the old business that I used to have with Alec was in online retail, and because, we met selling Kirby vacuum cleaners door to door, and we continued in the vacuum cleaner industry, and we ended up building a massive global website that was the largest online vacuum cleaner spare parts store. And so it was massive, it was huge, and it was fabulous, and we loved it, but in the back end we had no systems at all. There was no systems for warehouse management, for inventory control, for order fulfillment. There was literally nothing that was automated and nothing documented. So the front end of our website was fabulous. We sold so much through that website. It was quite incredible to see, really, hundreds of orders that were going out each week. And yet in our back end, we were like chooks with our head cut off. We really were. There was no systems of management, nothing documented at all. So when Alec passed away, a lot of the information, it's why I'm so passionate about the work that I do now, a lot of the information that he held in his head was literally lost forever. And so what I needed to do was restructure that entire business, do the automations, do that systemization, do the documentation to be able to build a new team, to be able to completely restructure that business. And I did that within 6 months. I had the business order fulfillment side of the business completely outsourced, so no longer were we running it in-house. I documented that and systemized that well enough that another third-party company could pick that up, and then over that following 12 months after that, I documented every single part of the business for every job description, the warehouse manual, the customer service manual, the inventory control, and I did all of that, and managed to sell the business only 18 months after Alec had passed away. And the personal and professional journey that was monumental. And to this day, I've built my life on having watched myself be able to do that, being able to see the massive transformation that happened in the business in such a short space of time, on the back of me I was still grieving and in such desperate personal loss, but still managed to pull this out and transform that business. And now I love nothing more than to help other businesses do the same thing. So I think that's my proudest one,
Yeah, it's absolutely massive, Kerry, and it honestly is a huge, huge accomplishment. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's so massive. And also for your children to see that too. That would have been just a huge, huge ricochet for them as well.
Yeah.
Massive.
It was amazing. And Zach actually, so at the time, Isabel was 16 and then turned 17 through that time, and Zach was 19 through 20 through that time, over that 18-month period. Mm-hmm. And so Zach actually, my son is really quite great with computers and software and technology. He's just got a brain that's like that. Isabel is too, but she was still at school. Zach actually came on board and worked with me and helped me to implement the new software. And he was just there, wherever he filled so many gaps wherever I needed them filled. And he was such a hero during that time. So yeah, being able to work alongside Zach, and they'd always been involved in the family business. For a lot of years we ran our business from our home. So our whole life was hubbed around our business, but yeah, to be able to share that season with Zach was truly magic and such a special thing that I'm so grateful for that, to have had that opportunity.
Oh yeah, massive. And I'm sure he'll remember that for his life. It's huge. Do you actually still celebrate your wins today, small or large?
Oh, massively. Absolutely. Like I said, I've always got a roaring crowd in my head that's telling me every time I do something well, because we need that. Yeah. But yeah, and it's something that I need to remember to do, to be honest, because it's so easy to have a big win. I just got another new client. I just sold another big product offering. I've just finished developing the product offering, or whatever the thing is. Having those things, it's so easy, and particularly for people that we're really focused, we're ambitious, we've got our head down, we're working, we love our work. It's so easy for us to think, okay, tick it off the list, next. And yet stopping, just pausing, not stopping forever, pausing, stick your head up and say, you know what, we did a fabulous job on that. That's a win. Let's celebrate. Let's have a drink. Let's go out. Let's reward ourselves in some way. Yeah, it must happen, or because that's what gives you the momentum for the next round. And then you go the next round. So yeah, you need to do it. It's hard. Yeah. It's hard to fit it in, but you must.
And it's great that you even said pause, because yeah, it's like, what, taking a break to celebrate? No, I have to focus on this. When you're like, no, actually, this will give you more energy. Go for the drink, go for a nice dinner, whatever that celebration might be, but reward yourself in some sort of way of knowing that you did something great.
Yes, so it's a false economy if you don't. You think, oh, I'm going to get more out of my day if I just keep ploughing through. I'm going to get more achievements if I keep ploughing through this one. And, you know, honestly, you don't. You don't get more time. You don't get more energy. You need to pause and breathe and celebrate and renew yourself and recharge with those wins.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love how you talked about your primary resource being time, because also the same time, why are you doing business in the first place, right? What have you done it for? And it's also just the question of fulfillment, of life fulfillment, and you know, giving yourself that celebration, that reward. You definitely deserve it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think there are seasons for us to put your head down, bum up, and you need to focus, particularly in those first couple of years of your business. There's a lot of infrastructure to build. But yeah, we're still humans, and we need to recharge, and we need to breathe and celebrate and enjoy. If that business isn't rewarding, and I don't just mean financially, I mean the satisfaction of a lifestyle, then honestly, if you're not getting that back from your business at various points, being reasonable about it, of course, but honestly, you're better to go and get a job. I really do think that. If it's not worth being in the business, if you're not getting a reward back, go and get a job. Let someone else worry about your manage that 40 hours of your week, and then you will get your weekends and you will get your nights free. So, you know, you want to make sure you're getting the benefits of owning a business.
Absolutely. I love it, Kerry. Well, that's it for today's run, but is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up and we find out how we can get in touch with you?
Oh, goodness me. You've asked me such great questions. No, honestly, only I guess there's a bit of an imploring that, you know, for all of the people that are listening, you started your business because you had a passion, and that passion started you before you even knew what your business was going to grow into, or how you were going to pull it together, or what the challenges were that you were going to face. And so I guess there's just an encouragement that I want to encourage people to keep going, but continue to do that journey in a way that's structured and systematic. And honestly, documenting what you do and how you do it is the first step towards delegation. And you can't build a business that's bigger than yourself on your own. You simply can't. So having that documentation in place is the key to growth.
Absolutely. Well said. And I think it's a great way to wrap up today's run. So thank you so much, Kerry. And most importantly, because I'm sure the audience is screaming about it, how can they get in touch with you? How can they work with you? And any of the information you share, I'll put in the show notes as well.
Yeah, fabulous. So I write a LinkedIn article every week religiously, so that's always out, which means I'm always checking with my LinkedIn. So by all means, check in with LinkedIn. You'll always see me on Facebook. I love my social media, so definitely there. I've got a website as well, www.kerryannnelson.com, so you can see what I'm up to there as well. But yeah, social media is nice and easy because it's quick and we can just flick each other a little message and say hi.
Oh, perfect. Well, thank you so much, Kerry. It's been an honor to have you on the show today. I really appreciate it. And honestly, I've took a ton of notes. And I'll be re-listening to the episode. So thank you so much.
Good. You're very, very welcome. Thank you so much for inviting me. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Oh, you're most welcome, Kerry. And thank you so much, listeners, for listening to today's episode. We appreciate and love you all. If you've enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, or follow us on your chosen platform platform, and of course, share it with anyone you could see benefiting from it. For those who are brand new listening to our show, you can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, Podbean, or Spotify, and we'll be releasing our episode next Monday. So look forward to you guys tuning in then, and have a wonderful week. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.